Hello everybody and welcome back to another 7 Days to Die video with me, Ryan, Mr. Acid Heads if you prefer. Any of the three will work. So it is Horde Night, Day 7, and it's a new playthrough I started because I wanted to try out perception-based builds and try out some different ideas. So I was going to show you the horde base I came up with, which actually the one I'm going to be using and showing you in action will be the one over there, but this was my first iteration, I guess you could say. So the idea, as the title of the video would suggest, is a Molotov cocktail-based base. So this is where I've set up shop. It's one of the pass and gas POIs. I think this is a vanilla. There's the first clap of thunder for Horde Night. I'm pretty sure this is a vanilla POI. So I just kind of made a real basic base up here to keep away from the zombies. So again, this was my initial design, and I was lucky and got a whole mess of resources and was able to build the design I had thought of at first. This one is really ugly and haphazard because I was trying to figure out exactly how I was going to build what I wanted to build with what I had at the time. So the basic idea here is that you want the zombies to come through some sort of a pit area. And this would also work really well for explosives, which is why I wanted to test this whole thing out with perception, because that's your attribute for demolitions. So the zombies have a clear path up to you. They have to path through this pit area and then come up and around and navigate through all these jumps, which means they're likely to fall off multiple times. And I've got some hatches here for protection. And then basically, this was again my initial idea. You'd be able to throw your Molotovs down right through here, and it's not particularly optimal, but you know, if you maneuver around a little bit, as long as you're careful, it's kind of hard to fall through the hole. That's why I've got these kind of fence posts up. And basically, I mean, I've got 31 Molotovs. I could, you know, for a day 7 horde, it would work pretty well. Just every few seconds, throw one down. And what's that phrase? Bob's your uncle. There you go. So this is, I think this would be perfectly functional. I mean, it would still work just fine. It's ugly and very haphazard looking, as I said, but completely functional. So this is the idea I initially had, what I wanted to make. Kind of the what am I wanting to say here? The impetus behind that particular base. So it's the same basic idea, really, just a bit more elegant and clean. So you got this pit area, the zombies have to come up here to the end, and again, there's a couple of jumps that they can fall off on. I've got a couple of hatches here to keep them off of me. You know, I can pop them in the face if I need to. I got some barriers here, some fence barriers to keep me from accidentally falling in. You know, if I go off this side, I've got a pretty good barrier right there. So I don't really have to worry about falling in unless I'm really careless. I mean, you have to duck down and kind of force your way through. So. And again, clean angles for throwing, a couple of clean angles here, much better than the other one, actually. For throwing down the Molotovs, got a pretty good field of view on it. Yeah, and of course, once you upgrade this, it'll work absolutely fine for pipe bombs. I need to test the range on it, but it should be good. The only thing is, what this really needs to finish it out is some things to slow them down. So I think what I'm going to do while we're waiting for Horde Night to kick around is that I've got some iron hatches. I've got plenty of iron I can make into hatches. So what I'm going to do is just throw some hatches down there. Because I don't need these to stop them. I want them to have to slow down and to maneuver. So basically I'm just making some hurdles that they're going to have to jump over. Don't necessarily want them right across from each other all the way through, otherwise they can potentially run across them. Or they'll go around, I think. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Just so they'll have to kind of... That was all of them, huh? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go ahead and make just a few more, hopefully. I can get them all made in time. So now there's all these hatches here. See, they can run across those. So that's probably not as optimal as I would have liked. But the point really is just to try to slow them down a bit. Which it should do. So we got just a little bit longer until Horde Night kicks around, and then we're going to see this baby in action. And the nice thing about this one is that the other one over there, I think it did not have anywhere near enough space in it. This one, I can still throw a Molotov at him right over in here. And it should be far enough away that I won't get myself burned, as long as I throw it like right towards the edge of the doorway here. Although now that I think about it, I have made an error, I think. I did not put anything above here. That is not going to last very long. Of course, they can get up to the... They'll be underneath the lip there. you're wondering why I'm using the wrench as a weapon, it's because I'm spec'd heavily for salvaging. So actually I'm doing quite a bit of damage. Always a risk with Molotovs. Working fantastic. Exactly how I want it. That's the only real drawback of this is you have a high chance of doing yourself fighting yourself. So just have some water ready. So again, you have to be careful with when you're throwing it because it's probably going to be most, if not all of them right there, so I might have just wasted it. Not all. I do have it set on like 24 zombies for the horde. The thing is that Molotovs do last for a few seconds, so there is a good chance of setting them on fire for a reasonable period of time. it. I think that was it. That worked absolutely beautifully. Got a few loot bags, so I'll go ahead and loot through and see what all I got. That was a nice haul. Yeah, that worked absolutely beautifully. And I don't think any of this stuff really took any damage whatsoever. Now, obviously, if I was using explosives, it would. Some of the stuff over here was taking damage because they were getting pissed off and beating on it. But for the most part, I mean, even my wood frames up here survived just fine. Yeah, those are very easy to upgrade. So yeah, very effective, actually. I think I started off with, what was it, 31 Molotovs. Now I've got 6. So I got through the first horde night with melee, 1 bullet, and what would that be? 25 Molotovs. And kind of I do use a lot of mods, so I would have more perk points than you would at this point. But the build is still very doable. If not by not by Horde Night 1, definitely by Horde Night 2. So I've just got Perception at 5, so that's 4 points plus glasses. I've got a few points in the combat perks, one in lockpicking and infiltrator, but mostly what I focused on is Lucky Looter and Salvage Ops. Salvage Ops was the first thing I hardcore pushed into, because I wanted to be able to wrench down lots of cars and other things, both for stuff to sell, and because I knew I would need a lot of oil and gas to make the Molotovs. And as you saw, I mean, I made all of those Molotovs. Well, almost all of them. I found like 3 or 4 of them. The rest I made by wrenching cars. I did have to buy some oil from the trader, but I was luckily able to do that. But most of the resources I used to make the Molotovs I got from wrenching down cars, salvaging cars, and I was able to get the resources for this by scavenging and doing quests. So yes, yeah, it worked pretty damn well, didn't it? So yeah, thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this useful to get some ideas for it. I guess before I stop, I can go ahead and consider some potential upgrades. The obvious one would be putting electric fences down here. The problem is using either explosives or Molotovs would damage the fences. But only the fence posts get damaged. So, what I could do, actually, is put the fence posts on the outside, because the zombies would pretty much ignore them. So I could put them around the, like a whole perimeter of electric fence posts around the outside of this thing, and depending on just how far that is, that might be too far, so it might take a little redesign work, maybe have to dig out a space right through there to put the fence posts in, if necessary. But the wires themselves, I don't believe get damaged. It's only the posts. So, by setting up the fence posts around the perimeter and hopefully away from where they would get damaged by Molotovs or explosives, that would actually work, probably. So then they would just be coming through getting electrocuted and then fire and bombs. So yeah, that would definitely be the most obvious upgrade. Another one, if you wanted to go use something like this, but more of a trap design rather than explosives and Molotovs, is that there's enough room here for, I think, 2 blade traps. So you could stick a couple of blade traps in there and just nail them as they're coming through, and then whatever makes it through, you could just whack them as they come up to your barrier up there. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of different ways you can take this. I mean, you could have a couple of pillars out here with turrets on them. So basically, as they're hopping along here, trying to get around, you have the turrets like right out here, facing in. Let me nerd pull up and show you what the angle that I'd be like, maybe right here would be a turret. Maybe not even that high. Yeah, like the turret, I would probably have it like right here facing this direction and high enough so that it shouldn't shoot at them until they're inside the pit area. So then as they start bouncing through at a roughly head height, the turret should start shooting them. So, I mean, your wall right here would take some serious abuse, but you'd be able to fix that. But the idea, of course, is to try to get the zombies at head height so that the turrets are shooting them in the face. I mean, this one would be particularly good for shotgun turrets, actually, because if you got them... Let's see... Yeah, a turret like right here, a shotgun turret, would have pretty good coverage on this entire area. Get it at about head height, and the turrets would just be blasting them right in the face. So that's another possibility for this particular design. Another path you could take with it. Dart traps could be viable. Definitely. Instead of having all these hatches here, you'd want to have open space, and then your dart traps you could put like one here for your steps. Then you could put 2 there and just make like your steps out of the dart traps, and then have your trigger plates over here. And yeah, just as they're running through, they're setting off the dart traps, just getting shot in the face. Let's see. A sledge base. There's a space right here. You could put a sledge turret. You could put one there, and you could put one here. Get your upgrades on that, and I mean, they wouldn't touch you. I mean, they would just keep getting sledged right back down in the pit. And since that would be an intellect build again with traps, you'd probably have electric fences down here. Yeah, you'd put your sledges up here, and then you'd have something like the dart traps or something down here. Again, that would be a good arrangement, is the dart traps down there and then your sledge turrets. Oops. The sledge turrets like right here and over here to just keep knocking them right back down in the pit where they're going to keep getting hit by the darts. So yeah, there's all kinds of different ways you could go with this. I mean, if you were using pistols, for example, this is a good shooting gallery. You know, maybe cut the number of hatches in half, or just use a few spaced blocks to force them to jump around them, and you can just, you know, bang, 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 shoot them as they're coming through. That would work. Pistols, machine guns. Since it's fairly close range, actually, you'd be able to hit them with shotguns pretty well too. Although that would tear up your blocks really bad. So I would be leery of using shotguns in this capacity, because you're likely to do way more damage to your base than they would in that circumstance. You know, bullets from the pistols and machine guns, though, would do damage, but nowhere near as much as a shotgun, because shotguns, I think, get bonus to block damage. Or they have high block damage naturally, whichever it is. They do a lot of damage to blocks. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of different ways you could go with this design, I think. I think, yeah, it would work pretty well for pretty much any build you would want to go with, honestly. Intellect would probably give you the most options, because with turrets and traps you could do all sorts of things with this. And then of course what I originally designed it for is explosives. So just the fact that you can very easily stand up here and throw bombs and shit and Molotovs down at the zombies. And then, you know, if you had a turret right here, which would probably be my first or my next go-to upgrade, would just be to put a turret right here to keep knocking them down there. So you can just focus on bombing the shit out of them instead of having to turn around to smack them in the face or shoot them in the face. So yeah, very effective, I think. So yeah, once again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this useful, and I know I said this before, but yeah, get some inspiration from this. Maybe come up with your own variation on this theme if you do, and you can make a video, share it on here, and let me see what you came up with. I'd love to see some of your variations on the theme. I'd appreciate it if you would like the video, because that helps the channel grow. Leave comments if you have any questions or ideas for this particular design. Share the video if you think you know other people in the 7 Days community that might find this interesting. And subscribe if you haven't already, so you know when I put up new videos. And of course, all of that stuff does help the channel grow. because that's how YouTube uh, sees a channel as having more stuff happening on it, interactions and stuff helps the channel get bigger because it puts the video in front of more eyeballs. And I'm sure you know that already, but just in case you don't, it's almost a YouTube tradition at this point that you have to say that stuff. Or you don't have to, but you know what I mean. So anyway, I'm getting rambly here, sorry. Thank you very much for watching once again. I'll see you on the next one. This is Ryan, Mr. Acid Heads, or Mr. Acid, whichever you prefer. I'll see you on the next one.